Paul and Bill from 2nd A Firearms Training, LLC are in studio and get to know more about them. Up next.
But first, if you have a legal matter that involves firearms, then you need to call our California firearms lawyer, John Dillon, especially if you have questions about red flag laws, gun registration, gun transportation, or maybe you just need to know that your guns are California compliant. Call our trusted firearms attorney, John Dillon. John Dillon specializes in California gun laws. Call him at 760-642-7150, or you can visit him on his website at DillonLawGP.com.
All right, our first guest in the studio with us from 2A Firearms is Paul Gooding and Bill Mclaren. Gentlemen, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Did I say that right? Is it 2A Firearms? Is that how you...
We call it Second Amendment or 2nd A Arms. Firearms Training. 2nd
A Arms. Okay, I like that. I like that a lot. I think the first time we met was at Gun Prom. Was that where we met initially?
Yeah, that's where we met up with you guys. That was our first event that we went to for you guys. We had a great time.
Good.
So,
Thank you guys so much for coming. I thought it was a lot of fun.
Did it remind you of a prom?
It was kind of like a prom with good cocktails.
But it was really funny how that all came about, because it was not called the gun prom.
I think I'm going to take that. That's the idea. It's a really good prom, or it's a prom with good cocktails.
We're looking forward to next year.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Yeah. Now, Bill, I've heard about you for years. I can't believe it took us so long to actually meet in person. Very reputable trainer. Have a ton of students. Have done a fantastic job. And another thing that makes you unique is there aren't a lot of firearms trainers with that accent.
Well,
right?
It's a little different when you got an accent, because people tend to pay a little more attention to you.
Yeah.
Especially the ladies.
Okay.
It works. Yeah.
So I have to ask a much more important question.
Are
you related?
I was going to ask that too.
Are you related to the Mclaren family?
I knew that was coming.
Don't you wish you were? No.
Oh, yeah.
And
I just had to do that.
When they hear my American accent, although I was born in the UK, they go, we've heard that guy before.
Is it a coincidence that you guys were both born in the UK?
No.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not like your families or
close.
Nothing like that.
We drink different drinks, too. So
what do you drink?
I'm vodka.
Well, there's nothing UK about that.
You don't need to ask me. It's malt scotch.
Now you're on my side.
Now give me a Guinness. It's a good story.
Yeah. So anyway, back to what you asked.
We're not going to ask Alicia what she's drinking? Nope, she's just going to grin. Okay. Sorry about that. Go jump in.
Go on. So, we're both from the UK. And my background's British military, came out here in 96. Before I came out here, guess what? They took all our guns away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was horrible.
I mean, I don't.
It was literally horrible because
it
wasn't
How did they come into your house?
No, they just one day it was announced that you can no longer own a firearm and you must turn it in.
It's very much similar to what's going on in Canada right now.
It was a confiscation.
I don't think that calling it that's not hyperbole.
No,
I think it had to have felt enormously violating.
Yeah, the problem was that. Yeah, I can understand the mentality for why people were afraid. There was a shooting in a junior school. Lots of kids were killed. It's a heart-wrenching thing.
Yeah.
But instead of looking at what caused that person to do that, they punished every law-abiding gun owner in the UK and took away our guns.
Well, I think the other thing is another important point about that is they didn't have to go door to door, did they?
No, people voluntarily turned them in.
And I get it. Everybody out there listening is crossing their arms right now and saying, well, I wouldn't do any of that. You know what? You probably would.
Yeah.
You probably would. The first neighbor of yours who gets turned into a felon and goes to jail, boom, you're turning it in.
Yeah, that's happening in right away.
Right away. And no one, I mean, if you look at how we all behaved during COVID, everybody complied. So I don't want to hear it that, I'm just going to wait until the worst happens and then I'm suddenly going to.
They're going to have to get through my front door.
I'm going to be tougher than a federal SWAT team. No, guys, it's not real.
I think in this country there'd be way too much upheaval if they even tried to do something like that. They've been trying for years at every angle to work around us having our firearms, but to directly come straight to our homes or tell us we have to turn them in. I think we're a long ways from that, and I think this country will fight for our rights.
And I think it's because everybody has seen what's happened in England. And I think Australia, isn't Australia?
Yeah, Australia's.
So, I mean, we see the moss coming this way.
The big thing that scares me right now here,
Yeah.
because I've seen it happen. I've been there. My guns were taken. Okay, I know why they do it. If you listen to all our politicians, what do they talk about? They talk about democracy. We don't live in a democracy. We live in a constitutional republic. It's not mob rule.
Right.
Majority does not rule. That's the problem with the UK. It's not a constitutional republic. It's a democracy. Therefore, they were able to take away our guns.
Wow.
We have a different set of rules here. We have legal rights, and we give the government power based on what that Constitution says. We did not give them the power to take away our guns by majority rule.
We have the Second Amendment, and really that's one of the reasons we called our company, Second Day Firearms Training, because we are firm believers in safe and responsible ownership, and that's why Bill and I do the training.
Yep. We San Diego County Gunners and Orange and Inland Empire, we say that we represent sane, trained, law-abiding gun owners.
Absolutely.
If you're not all the above, then we're not representing your. That's not. You're not our demographic.
That's a T-shirt.
Yeah. Well, yeah, or a bumper sticker.
A bumper sticker.
So, what brought you to the United States? How much and how much did that gun situation, that confiscation, that violation, how much did that weigh into your decision and come to the U.S.?
Not at all.
No.
Why would I come here? A woman.
Ah, all right. Well, there you go.
No, my wife is American, and when I got out of the military, within 3 days, I was here.
Oh, wow.
There you go. Man after my own heart.
So how into firearms were you in England?
16 years. I joined the military at 18. 16 years in the military, got out of the military, came here. I've been doing this ever since.
Wow.
My life has been around guns.
Right.
I purchased my first firearm when I was 18.
What was it? What was your first?
It was a Lucas McCain style Winchester. Had to have it. It was a fake one. It was a real 22, but I had that, and my first pistol was a .357 Magnum in 1981, and it was
great.
Huge.
Those are two great firearms. That's very American.
But since then, I've been training all my life, and I've spent the last 10, 12 years with Bill here. And,
Yeah.
we all know Bill DC in San Diego. I spent some time with him, and
Never heard of him.
Never heard of the
Never
guy
heard
at all.
of that guy.
But
He's
it's been
listening.
a gun has been in my home since I've been around. But the key thing is I've always been responsible about training.
Yeah.
And there's no accidents you can have with a gun. If you have the accident, it's probably over. So training.
What got you into instruction?
During COVID, I was bored. I was semi-retired. I had spent the last 10, 12 years working with Bill off and on, training down at the San Diego Police Range before they closed.
Yeah. How tragic was that?
Oh,
too?
it's terrible.
Yeah.
But the idea of I was a small business developer, so I've ran businesses before.
Mm-hmm.
I've been training with Bill and shooting all my life. I have the certifications in many, many areas. So I said to Bill, I don't want to work full time. Let's open up one in San Diego since he's got Oceanside. And he was all in. And 2 years later, we've opened up our second classroom. Things are going great.
Are you still part-time?
I never was.
He's always been part-time.
I was going to say that lasted all of about, 30 minutes of this conversation. We're going to put something together I don't want to have to work full-time.
Fortunately, Bill does come down every other week, so we split the duties, and I do get some time off. But I'm just passionate about it. I like running a business. I'm good at it. I love training, and the reward of seeing people, that sparkle in their eye when they go, oh, look what I did, look what I did.
Yeah.
When you develop that skill set in them and it's just the beginning, you're witnessing, the beginning of something for people that could save their lives, just another sport to get into. So it's really rewarding.
Now, when the Bruin case came out, did you guys pay much attention to the Bruin decision?
And I didn't.
No.
I actually had it taken apart. We got a couple of. You talked about USCCA earlier. You were doing an ad for them. We're actually partners with USCCA.
Yeah.
We know some of their attorneys very well. They're criminal defense attorneys. So I actually do legal seminars along with Gary Gibson, who's one of their criminal attorneys. He trains with me.
I know Gary.
Yeah, he trains
good dude.
with me.
Yeah, I know Gary.
And I have John Howard, another really good
He works with us.
Yeah, I know John too.
John's
He's an
just a great
attorney. He
guy.
trains with me. Yeah, so we're pretty tight in with the attorneys, so we spend a lot of time going through back and forth on what these different laws are and what they mean.
So what did you think about the Bruin decision?
I thought the Bruin decision was probably one of the clearest, most concise decisions the Supreme Court has ever passed down.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Amen. I way better than Heller.
Oh, well, Heller stopped short because they didn't want to go where they hadn't been asked to go. This one, they had no choice but to go the whole way. And they did it very well, and they did it very clearly, and it has very clear ramifications for states like California, New York, Illinois.
Well, it's interesting also right now to see how strong the Supreme Court is acting in ways, whether you're for or against guns or the abortion. They're really ruling on some serious topics that haven't been really addressed in a long time, that are overdue. And again, it's not whether you're for it or not. It's the Supreme Court that has the right to make these decisions. They're getting involved. Or in some cases, they're detaching themselves from what's going on and saying, we don't want to be a part of that. Let the states run it.
So for clarifications, for somebody maybe just tuned in, what is the Bruin decision?
The Bruin decision was a Supreme Court decision. It was a case that came out of New York, and it was the first time the Supreme Court had ruled on the Second Amendment in about 10 years.
It was the shall versus may situation where there were 7 states that were may states, and
that means
the state would say, well, the Constitution says in the Second Amendment you shall have the right to bear arms. And the 7 states that were may states were, the state would say, well, you shall have the right, but we may decide if we don't like your decision or your reasoning for it. And the state took in and overrode your actual rights.
Took away all the subjective malarkey.
The subjective, exactly.
That was,
and now today, if you're over 21 in California, you have a clean background, you have the right to get a concealed carry permit. I'm sure there's some constraints, but there's very few or little now, other than the fact that the laws have been changed.
And how many? I mean, you've been able to. You guys have been in business a long time. For the last, since about 2017 is when they changed the policy. It was really full swing 2018 when you could really truly get a CCW.
That became political because the sheriff was obviously trying to keep his job and his position for re-election, and
we pressured him.
And we pressured him, and at the same time, that promoted him to start opening up to different industries, say the mortgage industry, where people were going into people's homes, the real estate industry. They started loosening up on areas. Well,
everybody. Honestly, anybody. If you could string together about 13 sentences, you were getting a CCW. From 2018 on, there were no more denials due to good cause.
Hey, Orange County Gun Owners is dedicated to preserve and restoring Orange County and self-defense rights. And if you live in Orange County and you want to help defend and restore the Second Amendment, you need to join. OCGunowners.com/join. Orange County Gun Owners is more than supporting the lawsuits for the Second Amendment. They have developed an effective infrastructure that focuses on local outreach and activism. Volunteer at a shooting social, at a gun shop and tabletop, and help more pro-gun local officials get elected. Become a member today at OCGunowners.com/join. Okay. So we're back with Paul and Bill.
Yeah, and we asked the question right before. So just real quick, 2017, the sheriff actually won a lawsuit against the NRA, and the courts said, nope, you don't have to issue. We put a ton of political pressure on the sheriff. He was trying to get reelected. We were talking a lot about CCWs, and he finally said, okay, fine, we're going to start to issue. We worked with him. We started getting more and more people into the process, and then we started teaching classes, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, long story short is 2018, by 2018, people in San Diego could get a permit. I mean, they still had to put a good cause letter together, but boom, they could start getting permits. Everybody's good cause was getting accepted. So my question to Bill was, starting 2018, and then of course this summer, how has business changed? Did you guys see a big influx, or?
There's been several things that affected that. Yeah, the sheriff opened up, but at the same time, literally COVID hit.
Yeah.
And the sheriff shut down. So we had a spike where classes got bigger and then all of a sudden, boom, it dropped way off. For about a year, it kind of flatlined. they issued about 1,000, maybe 1,500 permits in that first year.
That's about right, yeah.
Which is literally nothing. It's a drop in the ocean in San Diego County. But it's been steadily ramping up since then. And then we had the Bruin decision, and now, again, they're overwhelmed with applications, so it's kind of flattened out again because they're struggling to keep pace, because the sheriff's office is not just dealing with CCW permits. They're dealing with all the other permits that you need through that office, so that slows them down.
We got to put a shout out to the girls and guys back in the licensing division at the sheriff's office. They're doing a great job. They are so overwhelmed, and we just want to say that.
I ran into them after the policy change they started issuing. I ran into a couple of them at a CCW seminar up north, and it was a bunch of sheriff's departments that were getting together and kind of sharing information. It was talking about CCWs, that sort of thing. So in the buffet line, just happened to be behind the San Diego crew, two of the ladies that work in there, and I'm talking to them. They're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, we know who you are." And I said, well, we talked more and more, and we sat down and had dinner together and everything. And it was the funniest thing. I forget exactly how she phrased it, but she was just like, I can't believe you're nice. I really didn't think you were going to be like, I think they had like my picture at licensing and they were throwing darts at it or something like that. And she was like, gosh, you're just such a pleasant person. I'm like, yeah, sometimes I can be. Anyway, they're wonderful. Yeah. They truly want you to get your permit. They want to try to. They're very helpful.
They're very organized too.
Yeah,
it's a complete change. Back in about, I'm going to say, 2010.
Yeah,
I applied for a CCW permit.
Ooh.
And back then, the process was you had to submit an application. Then they would call you up and they would have a discussion with you. And my good cause said self-defense.
Yeah,
they called me up. And I said, yep, self-defense. We can't give you a permit for that. You're not going to get one. No. And I said, I'm a CCW instructor. I have multiple firearms training qualifications, and I can't get a CCW permit for self-defense. Let's face it, this is what it's really about.
Right. Yeah, the evolution.
And they said, nope, don't even bother applying, because you didn't pay your fees in advance then. You applied, and they would just refuse you. No written refusal. It was a verbal, you can't have a permit. That's how subjective it was back in the day. Yeah. Now you call up the sheriff's department, they will bend over backwards to help you get your permit. Yeah.
If you qualify, they will get you there.
Sure. Yeah.
There's no. It used to be this gotcha, like you didn't dot your I. We got you. Not anymore. And I got to tell you, the I don't mind saying, the lady who ran licensing back then, she's since retired. I worked with her on a number of things. She was as anti-gun as the day is long. So it's not surprising. And the ladies down there now are guys and ladies down there now are wonderful. They've done a great job. The department has a completely different attitude. And that's one of the, I don't want to circle back to the election again, but that's one of the reasons we endorsed Kelly Martinez, is because they've been so wonderful, not just on CCWs, but on issues in general. So did you guys also see, everybody seemed to experience, the mostly peaceful protests across the nation from, with the BLM and all that. Did you guys experience a big spike in new gun owners and people that had a new, interest in self-defense?
Here's what's interesting. I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but I think in that COVID period when guns were almost impossible to get,
right?
Given that guns were almost impossible to get, there was more than 2 million new gun owners in
right.
California.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, CCW dropped off because the sheriff's department wasn't processing. However, we used to run a basic pistol class once a month for about 10 people. I was running 2 a week for a year and filling them all with all the new gun owners. That's how many new people were buying guns. The sad part is that means that probably 1% of the people who bought those guns got training.
Got the training.
That's the scary part.
Well, and I'm happy to see that this growth has also included many women. I'm seeing a lot of women coming in by themselves without their husband, and they want to get training, or they've purchased a gun and they're saying, I know nothing about it. I want to protect myself.
Well, how are they allowed out of the house without their husband? I don't understand that.
They've got a gun now.
Quick, everybody jump up on the table. Let's get
everybody wait for the emails on that one.
Yeah.
It really was. I mean, there were, you saw yoga instructors and, coffee baristas and all kinds of different folks that you wouldn't normally associate with gun culture, buying a firearm. The political rhetoric all disappears when there is really truly a clear and present danger. And when there's a clear and present danger, or the real possibility of a clear and present danger, all that rhetoric disappears. People know, hey, you know what? This is the most effective tool mankind has ever created for
that's
self-defense.
What it was. It was fear. It was fear that drove those people. We saw a huge increase in women. Probably 30% of most of our classes now are women, where before you'd be lucky to see one woman in a class. Women were scared. People who never wanted to own a gun, who hated guns, who thought guns were the devil, suddenly wanted a gun because they realized that nobody else was going to protect them. And the funny old thing is, once they got shooting, they actually realized they liked it.
Yeah.
It's
And,
a cringe.
The population out there that is anti-gun, it would be a shame for them to have to go through an incident for their family members or their children to recognize the value of a firearm. And, it's just amazing how much there's so much controversy over it, but there's such a need for it in today's society.
Well, the most popular day I was talking, we were looking at a security system years ago, looking at security cameras and a security system for my house. And the sales guy was telling me the most popular day to get a security system in your house is the day after you get robbed.
Yep.
And so that's too late,
Well, it's interesting that you were talking about the parties earlier when you first opened up the show.
Yeah.
And it's kind of become that way with guns. It's not that people don't like guns. They don't know about guns, but their political view is that they don't like guns.
Right.
So that's what they follow.
Exactly.
There's no experience involved in this. It's simply a political dictum that my party doesn't like guns, therefore I don't like guns.
Just a bunch of lines in the sand.
Yep.
I like talking to Bill. This is good. It's like talking to Sean Connery or something,
I'm just
It's
better
awesome.
looking.
I was going to say
I'm also not dead.
That helps.
I almost said Peter O'Toole, and I thought I better not.
Easy.
Yeah, that probably wouldn't.
Yeah, now you're
Sean
getting-
Connery's probably better.
You get away with Irish,
I'll give you
but
my
you
Jack
won't get away
Nicholson
with
look.
English.
Yeah, give him the Jack Nicholson look.
There you go.
Yeah. So, when people come up to you, what's the first thing they should think about, or should they do any homework before they even come to your classes?
We tell people, if they give us the chance, because most people go out and buy a gun without even considering what they're getting into.
Right.
We tell them to go and take a basic pistol class. It's going to teach you everything you need to know to safely own, use, store, transport that pistol, and they're going to teach you how to shoot it and give you a chance to shoot one before you'd invest $600-700 on a gun that doesn't fit your hand, that you can't operate. We suggest start with a basic course.
Starting with that course gives us an opportunity to talk to them about why are you buying it? What's your need? If it's concealed carry, there's avenues for that. If it's a home defense gun, it might be a different caliber. What type of ammunition are you putting in the guns? So it's in the beginning when the COVID thing was coming out, people were coming in our classrooms and wanting training with whatever was available because the guns went short. And so they were buying anything. And we were finding people with small hands or women buying these huge guns. And it's a shame they didn't have the knowledge. They just ran out to do it. Today, we can guide people on a discussion about it. And if it's going to be in the home, who's going to be in the home, and what safety precautions, so on. There's just a realm of information that needs to be talked about before you just go out and buy a gun. And then more importantly, after they've purchased it, they've got to get some training. And they've got to understand safe gun handling skills. It's just paramount in today's society. And what I see in our classrooms today with people that come in, most people that don't shoot well, almost all of them, I realize they don't even know how to hold the gun right. It's just as simple, you get in your car, you got to know how to steer the wheel.
No, you're absolutely 100% correct, and I think that's the biggest thing, like you said, in purchasing a gun. Because everybody here knows at least 5 people that went and bought a gun and never shot a gun in their life in the last 6 months.
The most important thing about firearms, period, is safety.
Yep.
And knowledge.
Right.
And And sometimes these people have attitudes that are just all backwards. It's about safety first, always number one, paramount.
And the way I look at it, if you're going to think about getting a gun and come to you guys and you fire a gun and you don't like it,
That's a lot cheaper than buying one.
pilots can fly almost every day. We're over here close to the ocean, the desert, the mountains. I mean, it's wonderful up here. So that's why San Diego is one of the best places to learn how to fly in the world. You can learn to fly right here in San Diego, right at Montgomery Field. Getting started is super easy. Just call them at 858-569-1822. Learn to fly at SDFTI. That's 858-569-1822, and tell them we sent you. All right, so we've got the trainers back for another.
So how do people find you? What's the best? What's your website? Where's your location? All that good stuff.
We're located at 7841 Balboa Avenue, and that's about 2 buildings down from Balboa and Convoy, right next to the gun range. Our website is the number 2, the letters AFTNG.com, and our phone number is 858-737-8662. We'll always get back to you if we're on the range, so just leave us a message, or we'll get a hold of you when you call us.
Nice.
And we'll put this probably information on
Absolutely. Well, it'll be up on
your website.
It'll be up on Gun Owners Radio, and then of course we'll have it up on the YouTube channel. Right. What was the question? What were we about to talk about?
Oh, we had a story. We were talking
Tell
about
the story. There you
COVID,
go.
Yes.
people buying guns that
Yes.
they shouldn't have bought. Part of this, and it's a funny story, but it's not funny when you think about it.
Right.
The gun stores, a lot of them were selling anything they could sell. They didn't care who you were, what
Anything.
it was. If they could put it in your hand, they were going to put it in your hand, regardless of whether it was the right gun for you. There was no thought, just make sales.
Still passing a background check and everything.
Yeah, you got to pass your background check, but they didn't care whether this was the right gun for you. It's like a used car salesman. Yeah, he just needs to put your bum on a seat. Okay.
Hey,
So this
I'm taking offense to that.
this very nice lady came to my basic pistol class, and she brought her gun that she'd bought at X gun dealers. I'm not going to say the name on the radio. So I asked her if it was loaded. She said, I don't know. So I opened the case, took the gun out. Kimber 1911 10 millimeter. This lady weighed 60 pounds, dripping wet, was about 4'9" at about 85 years old.
I think that's a perfect gun.
A solid steel
the
cannon.
perfect gun. We got her on the range because she was adamant she wanted to try it. So that when we went on the range portion, and she fired one shot, laid the gun down on the table, and said, "If you would like that gun, son, you can have it."
Oh wow. Yeah, I was in right around COVID when everything was happening. I was making the rounds, going to different gun shops, talking about what's going on and what we're trying to do and everything. We worked really hard to make sure they could stay open. I was standing there talking to a gun shop owner, and someone behind me said, "I need a gun." And the person behind the counter, the employee, said, "Okay, what do you want?" And he said, "I don't care anything." And that made me turn around and look like, what? You just don't really hear that, you know? Turn around, it was a guy in uniform. He was in the Navy. I'm sure he was in a job where he probably he didn't handle firearms, but still, it's not like what I guess he definitely wasn't, some criminal. He was a guy, who was scared because everything was shutting down.
A topic for another day would be, the deficit of the type of firearms that are available in California because of the DOJ's approved list.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of small or particular types of guns for people available because of this list.
So all right, that's actually a good question. Top 3 guns that people in California can actually buy for and carry concealed. Top 3 guns. Go for it. What do you got?
I personally like the Springfield EMP. It's a nice 9mm. It's steel, so it's got some weight. It's a 4-inch barrel, so you have a little bit of length. It's controllable for a woman and a man. It's a single stack.
Springfield EMP.
I'm going to go a toss-up and say for a new CCW holder, you want to go with something simple. So I'm going to say something like a Glock 19 or an XD or maybe a Sig Sauer 2022. They're very usable guns. They're not oversized.
But the bottom line is you need to take it to a range. You need to shoot all 4 of what we just mentioned here and make a decision.
That's it.
And there just aren't that many decisions.
Well, the thing is, you can't even find them. An EMP, you're not going to find for a year and a half, but you will get a Glock or possibly a SIG. So, again, we go back to this viability of product.
I have a friend. I do a lot of car stuff in other states, and they always ask me, "So, what did you just get knocked off your roster?" Just get away from me.
Yeah.
Or they'll show me stuff they bought that I've never even seen.
Well, it's interesting that we actually, when we do the CCW class, when we do our home defense strategies, use of lethal force classes, we actually explain to people that, we do have this roster, which makes it difficult, but there are several legal ways around the roster that you can obtain. And we take them through these methods so that they can actually legally get an off-roster gun. We talk them through it and explain how it works, because they can do it.
Well, I'll tell you, who I think has benefited the most from this roster is Smith & Wesson, because that shield is enormously popular. Like, you're not a big Shield fan? Don't like the Shield?
Okay, the shield.
I can't speak. I'm going to leave the room now.
Here we go.
The one that we get here,
Yeah.
okay, the rostered shield. That gun is not a CCW gun. That is barely a functional firearm.
Wow.
The new ones that you can get off roster are a far superior gun. I recommend, if you want a shield, do not buy the California one.
their junk in California.
Well, I think they just got it. It's an old version and it needed some improvement. Is
They needed
that
a lot of improvement.
what? Talk to me. What
Okay,
don't you
so
like?
when they come out the box brand new,
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, most people can't even get the slide to release.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
The second thing is they can't operate the safety with their shooting hand.
Mm.
They can't release the slide lock with their shooting thumb.
It's
It's
light.
so stiff, it is so tight that it's not functional.
I find a lot of women are bringing these in because they're small, they're cute, they fit in their purse. But when you actually, even a man that's got a strong hand, when you discharge that firearm, a 9mm, it's like a little explosion in your hand because there's no weight to it. And you get these women that have, unfortunately, smaller, weaker hands. They can't control the firearm. And the most important thing, if you're going to have a concealed carry firearm, isn't what you're carrying, it's your accuracy. And they're not going to be accurate with this firearm.
I don't have a lot of experience with shields. I've helped people, shoot, like at our shooting socials, that sort of thing. But they're definitely popular. In fact, I think there's one in the room right now.
Here's why.
But is there anything? Here's my question though: is there? I've noticed that some of the shops in town have like different. They'll work on a shield. They have like a package of things they'll do to a shield. Are you guys familiar with anybody in town that'll kind of make your shield a little better?
Well, remember the 1911, the government, the original one?
Yeah.
The first thing you bought after you bought it was an improvement kit.
Right.
That's the shield.
Oh yeah.
I like that. That's good.
Alicia, what do you have to?
I was just going to say, if it's going to be a carry gun, just be careful of the modifications you make. Just be mindful of that.
Truth.
Oh, really? You get in trouble?
Legally,
It depends on what you do.
it can give them fodder for you in court if you ever have to actually
How would
use
they
it.
know that? In case they.
They'll confiscate it if you're in a shooting. They'll
Oh,
take
if you're
it.
shooting.
Yeah, if you're in a shooting.
Oh, you mean like if you're at the range and a police officer standing
No.
next to you? Not
No.
that bad.
No,
No,
if you have to defend
if
yourself.
you have to defend your life.
Oh, I got you.
If you have to defend your life and you have you have some kind of hair trigger on it or something worse, like one guy had I think he was a police officer in Arizona, I believe, who on the dust cover of his AR, he had something printed on there like the Punisher or something like that. Anyway, they'll use that against you.
Yeah.
I'm into sports cars, and I try to tell people that there's millions of dollars in R&D into my Viper engine, and they go to Summit Racing and put a $69 part on the internals. So it's the same thing with these firearms. There's a lot of engineering that goes into them to make them function right and function for longevity. So
I'll see you at 2:00 for You Ought to Know.
no, there you go.
We can do
There
a
you
whole
go.
hour on that as well.
But safety is first, and so if the firearm isn't safe or going to function properly because you've now tampered with someone else's engineering, and I'm not talking about putting a sight on or what, I'm talking about tampering with the internals. That's
New guide rod or a
New
new drop in
spring.
a trigger or something like
How about a new spring?
some kind of new spring.
Because you're good with springs.
Well, I'm better at losing springs. Is what I'm really good at. That's
I
what
still can't get that out of my head.
that was a 1911.
And it goes.
Yeah, and then that's it.
Did you ever find that spring?
I don't remember. No, I found it. Well, I carry a Gen 2 19
okay.
with like no modifications. except I just put a red dot on it. I put that new Leupold red dot on it.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about the new trend of
Red dots?
red dot optics, or that sort of thing on handguns?
Well, for defensive handguns, it's like, think about a defensive encounter.
Yeah.
In reality, in a defensive encounter, how close does somebody have to be to you to actually be an attacking
You're not
threat?
going to see that. You're not going to see that red dot anywhere.
No. You're going to point shoot. And
You're
it's
going to
over.
not use the sights at all.
Yeah.
Okay? You're not going to have time
But it
to
looks
use
good.
sights.
Don't take offense. It looks really, really good.
Well, I need to do a product review on that Leupold I got. I got that new Leupold that hangs off the back. I don't know if you've seen it.
No.
But the battery hangs. It's really ugly. It hangs off the back of the slide, and it's almost like it's like a tube, and it's got a red dot right in the center of it. It doesn't project. It's just got a red dot in the center of it. But the cool thing I like about it is, number one, it doesn't look like a TV set sitting on top of your slide.
Right.
But the other one is, if that red dot goes out, that tube turns into, it's basically a ghost ring.
Well, you just said something.
I think it's really intelligent.
You just said something that's so important. I personally don't, unless I'm shooting at night or on a rifle, I don't use red dots in any way, shape, or form. And what I found with a lot of people, they get dependent on it. And what are you going to do in a gunfight if your red dot doesn't work? Are you properly trained? Do you remember your skill sets?
There you go.
All right, let's take a quick break.
Website one more time.
Yep.
The website is the number 2, aftng.com. Second, A Firearms Training.
Awesome, guys.
Great having you guys on. We'll definitely bring you back.
Thanks for watching this clip from Gun Owners Radio. You can watch us live every Sunday from 4 to 6 p.m. California time, right here on our YouTube channel, or if you're in the San Diego area, you can listen to us on 1170 a.m. We're also available on your favorite podcast platform for free. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that you can help restore and protect the Second Amendment, not just in California, but across the country.